Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and I've been wanting to try something a little bit different with the channel, with the presentation. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to try a longer form for a couple days to see how you guys like it and how I like it and whether or not we can make it mesh together. So there won't be a single video story. It will be 4 or 5. I think I got 5 lined up today. We can talk about them, and I think it's going to be interesting. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. This is Labor Day weekend. This is effectively the end of the summer for many people. School starts back up for the rest of the country in terms of high school, middle school, elementary, and then studios are looking to the holidays for their next big bump. Never mind the fact that It and Kingsman are both set to make a lot of money this month. I mean, it's surprising. It is set at about $60 million opening weekend, and Kingsman: The Golden Circle is looking at approximately 40 to 45 or more, which is good compared to this last summer, which was not good. Actually, according to Entertainment Weekly, the total gross for the summer of 2017 was $3.8 billion. And if you're thinking to yourself, that's not so bad. That's actually pretty good. 3.8 billion? Damn, I wish I had that kind of money. Well, it's actually a 14% decline from last year. And last year, a lot of stuff wasn't regarded very highly either. Last year, you had TMNT Out of the Shadows, Ghostbusters. I can't even fully remember what else came out last summer. It was, there was a Pixar movie. It was Finding Dory, Secret Life of Pets. Like, the animated movies did well last year, but this year we didn't really have much in terms of animated outside of Cars 3, which did well, but no one was really kind of running to the theater to see it multiple times. You had Leap, which was an American re-release of a French animated film, which interestingly enough got really good reviews when it was in France, but in America got horrible reviews. Go figure on that one. But ultimately, this summer was a bit of a disappointment for a number of reasons. A lot of people out there just weren't going. The Hitman's Bodyguard, which is a very fun movie, was #1 at the box office 3 weeks in a row, which, trust me when I say this, they will milk that as much as they possibly can, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them one damn bit. Milking that as much as they possibly can is going to be what every movie marketer's dream job would be. Oh my God, we're having such a low year in terms of earnings that our movie was #1 3 weeks in a row because it had to be. And we can use that as a way to sell it into other territories or marketing or to put it on the DVD. And this is happening too, by the way, with a full 1080p 5.1 Dolby rip of The Hitman's Bodyguard having been leaked online last week, and it was still #1. So it does show you that the movie does have legs even with piracy. But ultimately, this summer, just so many things failed to connect. Pirates of the Caribbean 5, Transformers 5. People thought these were going to be kind of critic-proof movies, and they weren't. I enjoyed Pirates of the Caribbean 5. I didn't even really bother to go see Transformers. That was mostly because the last one was not very good. I just didn't care for it. It was so dumb. And even I have a threshold for dumb, and I loved Fast and Furious. But even Fast and Furious 8 came out in April, which doesn't technically count as the summer season. Logan, maybe not so much Power Rangers, but like Beauty and the Beast were all March releases, and those all grossed a lot of money, especially Beauty and the Beast, the first $1 billion movie of the year, not a summer release. So what we're seeing here is a lot of movies coming out at different times. As I previously mentioned, It and Kingsman: The Golden Circle are both looking to pull in more money in the month of September than movies in the middle of June and July even pulled in. The movie gross is so bad, or everything's so bad, that Wonder Woman is getting touted. There's tons of articles every single day. It has now surpassed Spider-Man 2. It's now surpassed Iron Man 3. It's like, yeah, the movie's doing well. I think the last article I saw before recording was, it's now in the top 20 highest grossing movies ever, which is great. It's a good movie, but like, you can see that it's been such a stagnant year in a number of ways. But it was good to see that there were some original concept films that did well over the summer. Like, you had Baby Driver actually do very well on a $30 million budget. So, maybe this is a kind of a look at the fact that, original concepts could actually do well. Not everything needs to have a sequel. Not everything needs to have so much crammed into those 3 months. You can space them out throughout the year, and people are in fact going to go see them. Additionally, theaters are just getting hurt left and right, to the point of where, like, you know, they're deathly afraid of MoviePass, but they should look at it like it's a freaking godsend. But anyway, when it comes to the summer movie season, it's pretty bad. And I don't know if it's going to be any better next year, but Deadpool 2 and Avengers 3, Infinity War, as well as whatever the hell else is coming out next summer. Yeah, you can see that there's going to be a fair amount. Ready Player One, I think. There's going to be a lot of big movies next summer that are probably too big to fail. Although at this point in time, anything's possible with, you know, Transformers and Pirates both kind of taking a shit this year. Speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean and the fact that it did not do as well as they wanted it to for the budget that they spent, which was insane. And again, that is a problem that needs to be discussed with Hollywood about these overinflated budgets, these overinflated P&A, you know, expenses and everything else, and then not getting the return that they need. We're in an age now where digital effects are cheaper than they've ever been, yet these budgets are super inflated, and a lot of that has to do with celebrities and their price tag, which might be one of the reasons why we're going to start seeing a big push for more relatively unknown talent going forward. But on the subject of Pirates of the Caribbean, there is a cliffhanger at the end of the fifth movie. Yeah, not so much a cliffhanger, but a little tease for what might happen. And that being said, Pirates of the Caribbean 6 has been heavily talked about. Will we see it? Will we get it? Who knows? Well, one person out there would know. And that would be producer Jerry Bruckheimer, who's been with the franchise ever since it premiered in July of 2003. And speaking about this, he did say that it's a possibility Pirates of the Caribbean 6 could happen. But this is where it's going to be interesting, because this is where we're going to start seeing a lot of sequels get their... what's the word? Get greenlit based off home video sales. He actually says here, well, I hope we can continue to make it, but you know we've been having so much fun just promoting this one right now that we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully it's very successful on DVD, as the other ones have been. Then hopefully we'll sit down and see where we go. And that, again, was something that even Paul Feig argued for Ghostbusters. Like, oh, did you want to see Ghostbusters 2? No. But if you did, then, you know, go out and buy the DVD. All Holtzman fans, go out and buy the DVD, because this is how we're going to judge it. And the reason why they're saying this now, well, to give you guys an idea, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 just came out last week, and its home video sales were greater than, like, I think 3 times like what the number 2 was. You know, it was so strong home video sales that, you know, a sequel is guaranteed. We already know that Guardians 3 is coming in 2020, but that is going to, you know, give you an idea of what to expect. Batman v Superman, by the way, you know, they did well theatrically, but it was not well received, and, you know, everything else. So they released the extended cut, and the extended cut spent 5 weeks at the #1 spot for home video sales last year. 5 weeks it spent at #1. For a few of those weeks, The Killing Joke on Blu-ray was #2. So people purchase stuff for home video consumption, especially now that 4K TVs are so inexpensive. I recently picked up one for like $360. It's a decent, you know, mid-grade model 4K TV. The Defenders looked wonderful on it, coming in through Netflix UHD. And so it's like, you know, I can sit there and watch these movies in 4K, you know, at home if I get a 4K player and everything else, and I can get that same kind of experience. But then I've also noticed that, like, Warner Brothers is releasing their home videos at $25. Right? They've been doing that this year. And they're usually the ones that always kind of kick off the trend when it comes to the home video releases. Like, because Kong Skull Island came out in March, did well, but they were releasing it on home video for $24.99 for the Blu-ray DVD HD combo, right? The one that should be, when it comes out, the first week should be like straight up $17 or whatever, and then go to 20. No, this was 25 all the way through. Just last week they dropped it down to $15. That's when I bought it. Batman, a Lego Batman movie, same exact situation. It's been $25. Everything Warner's puts out is going to be at $25. They did the same thing when they used to have the 2-disc set on DVD. You know, you get like the 2-disc set that had all the bonus features and everything else. People would buy that. Then, of course, Harry Potter King Kong came out at the end of 2005, And in 2006, when those DVDs came out, well, King Kong is Universal, but King Kong did this as well. They cut the second disc and called it like the limited edition set and charged you an extra $7 for those special features. Therefore, once again, bucking the system in terms of what people are used to. So we're seeing this kind of shift now happen. And this has a lot to do with, again, the story I previously covered with the faltering box office. People aren't going to the theaters because they could just go at home and see them. It's one of the reasons why you're seeing all of these discussions about, you know, movie studios putting out movies for rent for $30 or whatever, you know, a few weeks after the theatrical release. So again, it's this weird kind of paradigm shift, and those numbers are going to be what probably greenlights a sequel down the road. So it's no longer just reliant on box office numbers, which it never really was, but it always kind of felt like it was. In this case, it's really home video VOD sales, things like that. And Pirates of the Caribbean 6 will probably be one of the ones ultimately decided by that. And given how Disney fans love to buy the Disney movies on home video, I wouldn't be surprised if we do hear about a Pirates of the Caribbean 6 down the road, simply because Pirates 5 sold very well. But if I could just give a little bit of, you know, little bit of info out there to a little piece of advice to Jerry Bruckheimer, cut the goddamn budget. Okay, I know Johnny Depp's in trouble right now, but cut the budget. All right, shrink it down a little bit. Tell a more intimate tale, and one that's done in a way that's not going to completely break the bank. And then, you know, release it on Memorial Day weekend when people aren't really going, and kind of put all your eggs in one basket. That's basically okay. Just a quick little thing, because I'm kind of mad about this. Episode 8. Star Wars Episode 8 was supposed to come out this past Memorial Day. It was supposed to come out this past Memorial Day. It got pushed back to December because of Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Now, I want to know who made that decision, and I want to know whether or not that person still has a damn job at the company. Now, still talking about Jerry Bruckheimer, because this dude for a long time had every single finger of his and every single pie in Hollywood. And I never once questioned it, because I happen to really, really like Jerry Bruckheimer as a producer. But there's another movie he's been working on that a lot of us out there have really wanted to see, and that would be Bad Boys 3, or as it's known now, Bad Boys for Life. And we know that it was originally slated for a 2017 release, which clearly we're in the tail end of 2017, and that didn't happen. Then it was pushed to a January 2018 release, and well, that didn't happen. Then it was pushed to a fall, I think like 2019, whatever the hell, release, and then it was just pulled from the schedule entirely. Martin Lawrence came out and said, I don't think it's going to happen. You know, you're hearing about, like, you know, you're kind of waiting to hear more about Will Smith and whether or not he's going to be involved, because I know he wanted to make it, but he's doing Aladdin right now for Disney. They're doing a live action version of Aladdin, and he's playing the genie. And then he's also going to be doing Suicide Squad 2 once that is over, because we all know Warner's wants to fast track that due to the success, financial success, not talking about critical success of Suicide Squad 1. And it kind of leaves Bad Boys for Life in, well, the wind. It's currently just kind of floating out there, and no one knows what's going to happen. And keep in mind, it has been 14 years since the last movie. So it almost feels at this point like a reboot is in order versus a sequel. Now, I want to see a sequel. I do. I don't want there to be a reboot. I don't think people out there would be able to rename it Bad Boys and still have the same chemistry that Martin Lawrence and Will Smith had in the first two films. But even then, keep in mind that Bad Boys 1 came out in 1995. It's been 22 years since the first one came out. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to move on from this franchise. But Jerry Bruckheimer has something else to say about it. He wants people to know that it's still got a bit of a pulse, even if it's not fully resuscitated just yet. Saying here, well, we've been developing it for I don't know how many years, and we had a period of time where it got pretty close, and then it drifted away a little bit, and hopefully it will drift back again. We have a new writer on it who's working on it right now, so that gives me encouragement. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, granted, his job as a producer is to produce. He's going to, you know, make these projects. He wants to kind of be the cheerleader of these projects publicly, and he wants to make sure that people know that these things are still alive and well. And I think after, well, maybe the failure of Pirates of the Caribbean 3, it might actually be, or Pirates of the Caribbean 5, is that he might be wanting a win. You know what I mean? Because he needs one. He used to be, like I said, he used to be in everything. And then Lone Ranger happened in 2013, and he kind of backed away for a while. That movie was an overbloated mess for Disney. I enjoyed it, but a lot of people out there didn't. And so he kind of backed off a bit. I think he still does stuff with TV, but then he's, went back with the new Pirates of the Caribbean. And again, that kind of failed to connect as well. So he might be thinking this might be something we really want to make sure we get right before we take it, to the audiences. And I get that, and I respect that. And he has encouragement for the future. But at this point, one must ask themselves, is it just probably better to take the story that this new writer is working on, or to take the script that Joe Carnahan wrote? By the way, he directed The Gray, A-Team. He does a lot with Blacklist, and he's a good director. And then just, retailer that to a new original property, and then just start over, and that might be the wise idea here. But here's what I'm thinking is going to probably happen if this movie ever actually comes to light, which I don't know if it will. They're probably going to have Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, one final ride or whatever, and they're going to pass the torch to their kids or something. Like that's like, or like a rookie's going to come on in or something like that and take over how they do things. I don't know. I'm not entirely too sure. The world is way different from 1995 to now. Hell, it's way different from 2003 to now. So how people view police and the kind of stuff they get themselves into, those kind of action sequences are going to have a really different impact on society. And so I don't quite know if it would still be as well received. And if Michael Bay's not on board to direct it, I mean, again, you're at this point where you could kind of do a soft reboot within the franchise. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'd love there to be another movie, but at the same time, it's kind of well, it's been 14 years, respectively, since the last one came out. I believe it was July 2003 is when Bad Boys 2 came out, and it might be time to just kind of let it go. And I don't think any fan out there will disagree with me on that either. So back in May of 2014, Disney released Maleficent, a horrible, god-awful movie. It was bad. I hated that movie. But it also did something that I also didn't really care for, which was make enough money for Disney to go, hey, if we take our animated movies and make them live action, we can double dip instead of creating something original. And as much as I am not a fan of that kind of stuff, I will admit I did love the hell out of Cinderella, mostly because of the director and, the cast were wonderful. And I did enjoy the Beauty and the Beast remake, even though I felt it was wholly unnecessary and I had already seen it. While I still enjoy the movies, I would like to see them create new things instead of kind of going back and rehashing old stuff. And Maleficent, as kind of, I guess, in a way, was its own original thing because it was telling the untold story of Maleficent. We've only known Sleeping Beauty until now, but Maleficent is really the hero and the villain, which was the last line of the movie. And it was a horrible line in that movie. It was it was so bad. But the movie, on a $180 million budget, grossed $785 million worldwide, so of course a sequel would be coming. It would be stupid of Disney to not do a sequel. Well, it's been 3 years. We haven't heard anything on it in a year, except we know that it was coming, but Angelina Jolie came back and said that they are currently working on the script, and it's going to be a really strong sequel. I don't really know what they would do with it. Kind of continuing the story of Maleficent is not necessarily needed, considering that the entire idea of the first film was to basically showcase that, no, she really was, there's always two sides to every story. She was really the victim. And what could almost be constituted, it was almost like a real violating a scene too, when her wings were cut off. That was akin to a Disney-fied rape scene, if anything. And yeah, it was just, that movie, everywhere that movie was. So they're working on a sequel, but she jokingly said that, she's the breadwinner now. And, so she's gotta come back. She said, so it's time, which I thought was kind of an interesting comment, considering the fact that, her and Brad Pitt broke up. It was a big public thing. And then, she's not like she's not got any money. She hasn't been in a movie in a while. She's directed a couple things. I think the last thing I even saw her in was Salt from 2000. No, it was The Tourist, came out the winter of 2010. I haven't seen her in anything Maleficent came out in 2014. Again, this is how much you see Angelina Jolie these days. So I'm not against the sequel necessarily. I don't think I'm going to see it. But again, I also feel like this is Disney doing what Disney does, which was very much take something and then almost kind of create super sequels of it until they run it into the ground. With Disney, though, because they're really good at creating sequels, it will take a lot longer for this property to die. But ultimately, I think that I think that for Angelina Jolie, this is more about a payday than it is telling a good story. And I can't fault her for that. People out there, they want to make money. Even millionaires want to become or still be millionaires. So they still want to earn that cash. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, a really strong sequel to a really crappy movie doesn't really feel like something I care much about. But then again, just as a case in point, Madagascar 1 was a pile of garbage. Madagascar 2 was wonderful. Despicable Me 1 was a pile of hot garbage. Despicable Me 2 was wonderful. So who knows? Maybe this could continue the trend of a horrible first movie that made enough money to warrant a sequel, and the sequel is better in every way possible. And finally today, Indiana Jones 5. This is a movie that is currently slated for a summer 2020 release, provided Harrison Ford can stop almost dying in plane crashes and Star Wars accidents. Well, I mean, granted, he's no longer on Star Wars, so I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore. But still, he's got his lives are running a little bit low here, and I'd like to see him actually get to shoot this new movie to give us an actual torch passing event that isn't Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, here's the thing. I will defend Kingdom of the Crystal Skull until the end of time. That is a movie that I genuinely like, and I can pretty much defend everything in that movie, with the exception of one thing: the monkeys. I can't defend the monkeys. I can even defend Shia LaBeouf. And with this news of him being written out of Indiana Jones 5 is a little bit saddening for me, right? It's a little bit saddening. He was part of the canon. Mutt Williams, part of the canon. We know this now. It's been there since 2008. It's been 9 years. So writing him out now doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't. It just feels like they are like, ooh, how do we go and kind of act like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't happen? Well, here's the thing: is David Koepp, who wrote Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and is apparently writing this one, chimed in and made a comment about it, saying, Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones, that I can certainly say, and the Shia LaBeouf character is not in the film. We're plugging away at it. In terms of when we would start, I think it's up to Mr. Spielberg and Mr. Ford. I know we've got a script we're mostly happy with. Work will be endless, of course, and ongoing, and Steven just finished shooting the post. If the stars aligned, hopefully it'll be his next film. Which is true, but he's got to finish up post-production on Ready Player One, and then post-production on, well, The Post, and then go from there. So he's still got a lot of things going on. And Harrison Ford is still acting, and he's still busy, which is good. And I think a lot of people out there are really wanting just to kind of hurry up and get this thing done before Harrison Ford or Spielberg dies, because they ain't getting any younger, and they've been active in this game for a long time. I even saw an article today asking, is Harrison Ford the greatest actor alive? That's a good question. I know I will cry excessively when he passes. But when you look at the concept of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and what they were setting up and what Lucas did with it, you can see why he did it the way he did it. You know, you can see why Koepp wrote the script he did. But then again, David Koepp as a screenwriter is not my favorite person ever. In fact, I would love there to be almost anybody else on the script outside of him. Yes, Koepp has been around for a long time. He wrote Jurassic Park. He wrote War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, which is one of the reasons why I don't like him. He's written, this dude's written a lot of movies. I cannot remember all of them right now. And so I understand why they'd probably bring him in as an old school Hollywood writer at this point. That's the best way to describe him. He probably has a better fundamental understanding of these characters and of the world and everything else. But here's my question. What the hell is Lawrence Kasdan up to? Why isn't Kasdan writing the script? He wrote Raiders by hand on legal, yellow pad paper, basically. He wrote, bring Kasdan back in. Get Kasdan to kick down this story. Don't have Koepp. Don't have Koepp. Like, that's the biggest fear for me. But when it goes back to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I know I know that Shia LaBeouf kind of badmouthed it, and I know that Spielberg has kind of started crapping on it a little bit. Every time you talk a little bit of smack about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull or Temple of Doom, Spielberg's response back is, well, I made the movie my friend wanted me to make. You know, basically shifting the blame over to George Lucas, and it's a valid defense. Let's be fair. It's a very valid defense. But at the same time, I would rather there be defense of your work. You still made it. You still put the time and energy into it, and these movies are not bad. So that's the whole thing here. So I'm hoping that Indiana Jones 5 will give us a solid conclusion to the, to the Indiana Jones character. We pass the torch to somebody else because that's, they want to continue doing this. I almost have a feeling, and this is my theory, they're going to go back to the 1930s, probably when he was younger than he was. We're talking like late 1920s, early 1930s, before Raiders, before Temple, which technically came first. And then we're going to get a younger actor to play the role. And I do have a feeling that will probably end up being Chris Pratt. I've wanted it to be Nathan Fillion for a long time. I feel Fillion could pull it off. But at this day and age, Chris Pratt is probably who they're going to want to have do it. And Pratt, is going to probably be filming Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 next summer. And that's not coming out till 2020. He's got Jurassic World, or the new Jurassic World movie, coming out next year. I know there's going to be a third one, and they might be able to fit in the time to get him into Indiana Jones 5. And then he could then continue that franchise for as long as Disney wants. And he's already good with Disney for Guardians of the Galaxy and now Avengers. So we'll have to wait and see. But then again, I could be wrong, and it probably won't be Chris Pratt. It could be somebody else who's maybe a little bit younger, but they're definitely going to want to go back in time and maybe pass the torch that way somehow. But when it comes, also just as a quick little thing to finish this up with, David Koepp said that when it came to the MacGuffin, what they're all going to be looking for, it's some precious artifact. So we know that it's at least some precious artifact. I'm wondering if it's going to be Fortune and Glory, or something as significant as the Ark of the Covenant. Who knows what it could be at this point in time? Maybe the Shroud of Turin, right? Maybe Poseidon's Trident. Maybe they're going to look for Mary's virginity. Who knows? But yeah, this actually wraps up this episode of $3 Theater. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. Thank you guys for sitting through all this. Leave your comments if you guys like this longer form format, or you want the shorter videos. Let me know. Again, it's experimenting. We'll see how this thing works. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.